Hey everyone, John here. Just a quick word of warning. We will be spoiling this film in its entirety, so if you have not seen this film and you don't want it spoiled for you, just hit pause real quick and go and watch the movie and then come back and enjoy the show.
I'm back because I think you gave me a fake number the other day.
It doesn't sound like me.
I know. So I spent a few hours composing a very witty, very romantic text, and then I sent that text to an oil rig worker called Red.
Was he into it?
Surprisingly into it. It was immediately inappropriate, but it's not going to work out because of the oil rig.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Surviving Chick Flicks. I'm John.
And I'm Sammy.
And this week we are continuing our look at films that are up for Oscar nominations that fit into the rules that we made up for what a chick flick is. And
When is the last time that we actually mentioned what those rules are?
That's an excellent point. Why don't... Because new listeners might be confused. So a chick flick is any film that falls into one of three categories. It's any film that was made to pander to women, any film with a strong female audience, or any film written or directed by a woman. And this week we have two of the three, with the Oscar nominated, Golden Globe nominated, SAG nominated, WGA nominated, fucking everything nominated. Comedic thriller, Promising Young Woman. And we have a special guest this week.
Yeah, John needed a little bit of help on this one, so
Yeah.
he brought him back up.
I have determined that all of our guests are pretty much either, well, for most of the time, they are for, help on my side. So, and this week, Best Friend is on the show. Best Friend, introduce yourself.
Sandy is here. The person that gives up her house. The person everybody comes to and watches the TV and falls asleep on the couch. I'm here.
I have not fallen asleep on any
You
couch.
have not fallen asleep, no.
Well, outside of, a night of drinking.
We won't discuss those.
No.
Those remain in the circle.
She's my best friend too. I don't know what this best friend business is.
Well, I think he wants me to be on his side because of the movie situation.
I literally had to bring in my family, a family member, in order to get somebody on my side.
and to be fair, I think it could have gone either way.
It definitely could have gone either way. She definitely could have been on your side. There's no loyalty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always the reluctant person. I'm the one that says, no, I'm not going to do the podcast because then I have to choose between the two of you, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Well,
you don't have to choose between the two of us. You just having to choose on the movie. So we made it easy on you a little bit.
Okay.
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So real quick, why don't we play the trailer and then I'll read off all 87 people in this film, and then we'll just start ganging up on Sammy and telling her how she's wrong.
Okay.
All right.
What are you going to do?
I don't know.
Whisper something in your ear.
Good God Almighty. They put themselves in danger, girls like that.
It was a perverted thing to say.
You'd think you'd learn by that age, right?
Please lay down. What are you doing?
It's okay, hey, you're safe.
What are you doing? Hey, I said, what are you doing? Every week, I go to a club. I act like I'm too drunk to stand. And every week, a nice guy comes over to see if I'm okay.
You okay?
You are so pretty. I am a nice guy.
Are you?
1, 2, 3, 4. I thought we had a connection.
Okay. How old am I? What are my hobbies? What's my name? Sorry, maybe that one's too hard.
Cassandra? We were in class together at Forest. You would have been a great doctor. What happened?
I left under unusual circumstances. You remember what happened, right? Why I dropped out. I'm not the only one who didn't believe it.
We get accusations like this all the time.
Who needs brains? They never did a girl any good.
I'm so sorry I didn't go with her. You gotta let it go.
What are you gonna do?
I don't know.
Why do you guys have to ruin everything? We were kids.
If I hear that one more time,
I have to give him the benefit of the doubt.
I was hoping you'd feel differently by now.
It's every guy's worst nightmare getting accused like that.
Can you guess what every woman's worst nightmare is? I wanted to be a doctor my whole life. Lately, I've been feeling like I might want to get back into it.
All right, Promising Young Woman, starring Carey Mulligan, Bo Burnham, Laverne Cox, and I hesitate to say starring, so I'm just going to say featuring Alison Brie, Clancy Brown, Jennifer Coolidge, Chris Lowell, Connie Britton, Adam Brody, Max Greenfield, McLovin, Alfred Molina, and Molly Shannon. Written and directed by Emerald Fennell, who is also in the film as the lady nice enough to teach us all how to do blowjob lips makeup. So,
yeah. She was very interesting.
Yeah. So, normally at this point in the show, I'll ask when the first time everyone watched it was, but we all watched this film together for the first time. We risked life and limb and actually saw this in the theater towards the end of last year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sammy may or may not have been forcibly dragged into this movie.
We don't forcibly drag. None of us forcibly drag each other into the movie.
No. We just gently nudge.
Offer.
Yeah.
We may text you 300 times, but we're not forcing you.
We bribe. We blackmail. We don't force.
Well, you know, I mean, sometimes you just need a girl's day out in order to go to the movie.
Yeah. It's all right. I gotta, we keep joking about the on-air fight, and once again, I feel like it could be this week. Even though I know how you really feel about this movie, so.
It's funny. We definitely mention it a lot, and I think that it's the biggest fight we were working up to was the whole Matt Damon, Ben Affleck discussion, and it was really kind of drink. It was really
Are we having that Matt Damon, Ben Affleck discussion again?
No, but it was kind of anticlimactic, to be honest.
Well,
we really didn't argue that much.
Well, and that's because, Sandy, much like Joe Bob Briggs in The Drive-In, it will never die.
This is also
wasn't
true.
she the one that made the complaint about Ben Affleck, but yet she knew his height?
Yeah.
This is also true. Thank you, IMDb. Hey, okay. We had this discussion. I never said I didn't like him, and I never said he was not attractive. Clearly, those sweatpants he wears in Justice League beg to differ.
Which is a whole nother movie that will take 8 hours for the two of you to record. So
we are not doing Justice League, guys.
No, it's not happening. It doesn't fit into our criteria.
It's not even a manly movie of the month. No.
Nope.
If I'm going to make her do a 4-hour movie, it's going to be that one where the the French lady folds the meatloaf together for 4 minutes that I warned her about.
No.
I
will
have
quit.
to agree. No, you won't.
You haven't quit yet.
Everyone has a breaking point.
So you're saying 3.5 hour French film with almost no dialogue is going to be the one that breaks you?
I can say that with absolute certainty, but the line might have been like way before a 4 hour long French movie. I'm pretty sure it is.
Well,
and I think yours lies somewhere around ABC Family Christmas Musical.
Well, here's the thing. So you let me know when this 3.5 hour French movie with no dialogue is on, so I can make sure to be out of town that weekend.
Since we record on Skype, we can get you anywhere on the planet, really.
No, I'll be in some cabin that has no internet.
She'll be sick that week, so she'll have laryngitis. We'll both have lost our voices.
Fine. I have people I can call that will do that movie with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds great. You call them up.
So, she was mom and she was...
So this week, it's we said it's a comedy, kind of. It's a thriller, kind of, but this is getting into territory I honestly didn't think we'd be getting into on the show, at least not for a while, but this is technically in the subgenre of exploitation, specifically the rape revenge movie, but it is the best kind of rape revenge film since we don't actually see the rape. Anyone that's suffered through I Spit on Your Grave, any version, knows that's absolutely a treat to not have to go through that shit.
Yeah.
But essentially the film is about Cassie, who is a medical school dropout, basically lives at home, is kind of a Debbie Downer type, kind of a loner. And at night she gets all dolled up and takes on different personas and goes to different bars pretending to be too drunk and lets guys take her home and then basically does that.
Oh my god, is she audio with this? Here we go.
Yeah. But basically confronts these men who are the quote-unquote nice guys who, it's not even a lapse in judgment, who just turn and decide to take advantage of the drunk girl. And the reason she does this is because Cassie is haunted by the rape and later suicide of her friend Nina. And essentially her journey is trying to get justice. And then a chance encounter with one of her old classmates, Ryan, played by Sammy McDaniel favorite, Bo Burnham. Shows back up in her life, and two things happen. Number one, she gets a shot at happiness, and number two, she gets taken back to the darkest time of her life, in which she sets out on a plan to avenge Nina's death in one way or another. So that's basically the plot.
Yeah, and she had me. I was really with this movie up until a certain point.
And what's weird, I've been doing a little bit of research, and I know some people either love this movie start to finish, and then I know, I can't remember her name, but one of the girls from The Ringer, she has massive issues with this film. And weirdly enough, I actually spent a chunk of time last night on Letterboxd reading the 1.5 star, star and a half, 2-star ratings from women, because I don't care what a dude bro has to say, in his negative review of this, but a lot of women are accusing Emerald Fennell of kind of being dishonest and not necessarily taking this, sexual assault seriously, which I beg the question, Are they watching a different movie than we did?
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, but Emerald, okay, so just a little background on her. She was in The Crown. She played, Charles's love interest, Camilla Parker Bowles. But to me, she addressed the situation that still to this day happens in college. I mean, and it's not just happening with women. Yes, 9 out of the 10 victims are women, but there are men too. I mean, but how do you? I kind of get what she was coming from. I mean, she wanted to address the situation, but not overly address it in such a way that everybody was just, I mean, it's a serious situation in college. How do you address that without crossing a line? There is no way. And so I think she
Well,
did what she could.
I actually think she found the way, because she did say in her commentary, she's like, that she wanted to address these topics, but also make a film that, people wanted to sit through. Like,
Yeah.
she remembered that one of the, and this is coming from a guy trying to defend a 3.5-hour French film, that entertainment is part of the movie-going experience. So, she doesn't necessarily want to punish the audience. And
I would. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, and that led into the reason she cast who she cast. Guys like Christopher Mintz-Plasse or Adam Brody, Max Greenfield. These are guys that are known for playing genuinely nice guys on different television shows that we've seen over the years. And to see that turn from in how even a nice guy can have a dark side. And so when Adam Brody is trying to take her panties off and get between her legs, or McLovin is doing coke and rattling on about a book, which I have never done because I don't rattle on about books. But that was kind of her goal, is to like straddle a line between fun and lighthearted and also dealing with very, very heavy subject matter, which I do think she nailed.
I think for the most part she succeeded, and I do think that adding like some comedy and levity to the movie was a really good idea, because humor is infused into real life trauma all the time. In fact, it's how some people deal with it. So I think that was good, and it was an excellent choice on her part to cast Bo Burnham and Max Greenfield, because I think they both did a really good job of that. It's just kind of their natural personality. That doesn't negate the fact that there's some, for me, it breaks down to 3 massive flaws with this movie, given what she was trying to achieve.
Well, you said that, like, she cast. I mean, even Laverne Cox, she was that break between the conversations between all the characters. Like, she would smart off or have something. But, I guess what really shocked me was the way she cast Jennifer Coolidge and Molly Shannon. Especially Molly Shannon. I'm thinking, okay, Saturday Night Live, Molly Shannon. Wait a minute. Woo! She's a little, yeah. She was completely a different character than I'd seen in quite some time in most of her movies. I'm just saying that she was the mom, and she was like pretty much telling Cassie, grow up. And walked away, and I'm thinking,
I didn't take it as grow up, as more like let this go. That I didn't
took
read
it as grow up and leave me alone.
Oh.
I mean, because every time Cassie shows up, I feel like Molly Shannon's character is a mom, and you only see her once, but I feel like every time that Cassie shows up at the mom's house, mom is constantly reminded of what happened to her daughter and what her daughter did.
Yeah, it's kind of like I'm blanking on her name. I know her first name is Samantha, but Roman Polanski's victim. Every time that man sneezes, the press shows up in her yard, and so much to the point where she's just like, can we just let this go? Like, I have nothing more to say after all these years. And and it's easy to take the impression that she's forgiven him, but she is more like Molly Shannon's like, look, I just want to live a normal life and not constantly live in the shadow of this horrific incident. And
Right.
I won't speak for her, but I just know kind of what she has said over the years.
Right. And I think that kind of made total sense. And another like directorial and writing choice that they made that I thought was really smart is kind of the way they handled the subject matter, in the sense of it is apparent. The audience is totally clued in on what happened. It's, you understand that her best friend was raped. It does not take a long time to get there. And then from that, they don't even say her best friend is dead. It's kind of implied, but even her mother uses like the present tense, and she says it's not good for Nina. So it kind of makes you question it, and you don't even know that Nina's dead until Al says it.
Yeah.
And they never address the fact that Nina committed suicide. It's just assumed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think had Nina been hit by a bus, I don't know if Cassie would be going on this particular journey.
Depends on who was driving the bus.
Right,
It's true.
She might be going out and attacking bus drivers.
I mean, but it could have been anything. I mean, not to be crass, it could have been, she could have overdosed. She could have, I mean, the trauma could have caused her to turn to a drug addiction. She could have overdosed. So it didn't,
Yeah.
But it's kind of implied what happened.
Yeah. I don't think it would be hitting her in this way if it wasn't suicide or an overdose or overdose by suicide.
Mm-hmm.
Cancer, heart attack, bus, any other situation, I don't see Cassie particularly going on the journey on the level that she is.
Well, and Cassie even said, Cassie says too, Molly Shannon's character, her mom, Tanita's mom, she says, I wish I was there. And that's a form of guilt. I think that's, speaking in a way that people who have survived a trauma, they see it as their own, what happened to them, their fault. But there's always that one person that says, if I had done this, or if I had waited till here, or if I had gone there. And I think that Cassie's revenge was, if only I had gone, I could have stopped this. But you don't know. And so therefore she's blaming herself. So I'm also wondering, not only is she seeking revenge on what happened to her friend, but is she also seeking revenge for herself for not being there? Is this her way of saying, you know what, I wasn't there, but I'm going to be there now?
She's seeking some kind of absolution.
Yeah, definitely. And kind of circling back to the point you made about the mom being played by Molly Shannon and Cassie's mom being played by Jennifer Coolidge, she intentionally was hiring comedians because comedians can do. Fennell said in her commentary, comedians can do it all, and it's true, because making someone laugh is one of the hardest things you can do. So it's easy for them to slip into more dramatic situations, whereas Denzel Washington, great actor, but there's a reason he's not in all the Judd Apatow flicks, because he's not, comedy's not his strong suit.
So wait a minute. So that means that you, me, and because we can make people laugh.
All right, I'm the rare exception. I might be able to make you laugh, but I can't do drama to save my life. Coming soon, John Baggett as Hamlet.
Kind of, oh dear Lord, kind of circling back to something you said. I think it's interesting that some people thought she didn't handle the topic sensitively. I disagree. Other than the one place where I can kind of understand where people are coming from is her relationship with Ryan, because the way that relationship was handled, I think it's one of my issues with the film, is the way that relationship was handled. She everything was true to her character. She moved into the relationship very slowly, but she kind of gave up on her quest to find absolution for herself, get revenge or justice, as she probably saw it, for Nina, towards the end of their relationship, like not the end of their relationship, but towards the when they finally got more serious, and he caught her with one of the guys that she was going to go home with. She sort of gave it up and she moved on. Like, she was doing what everybody wanted her to do until she found out that he was there and he filmed, or was part of, I guess he was there with what happened to Nina. Joe filmed it. And then
The way I
that
read
was her
it, he was
catalyst
just
for
there.
going back. Yeah, I think so, because she mentioned Joe filmed it. And then all of a sudden that was her catalyst for the final portion of the movie where she goes and completes her revenge. And I don't think that it diminishes what she was doing. It diminishes the story that you're telling. If something like a relationship that she was having just causes her to completely abandon the entire thing, it doesn't exactly seem
No, I mean,
cohesive.
you've got to put yourself in those roles, in those situations, and God forbid if that something that happened like that to me or John or whatever, and then you're dating this person, all of a sudden you find out that this person was there and saw what happened to your friend, and kind of just blew it off like it was no big deal. I mean, that to me, it kind of, she was always committed to Nina. I mean, because somewhere in the movie, her dad, Cassie's dad, says Nina was like a daughter to us, and we miss her, but we miss you too. And so that tells you. And then Cassie also makes the comment of Nina was fully formed even at age 4 even when she was born. By age 4, she already looked the same. So that kind of tells you how close she was to Nina, that she saw her not just as a friend, but probably like a sister. And so blood is, in most cases, not in all, but in most cases, blood's usually thicker than, friendship. And whenever she saw, she couldn't justify her being with Ryan, because he was there. He watched what happened to her sister, essentially, and did nothing and said nothing.
It doesn't really bother me that. Go ahead, John.
I was going to say, and also up until Andy from Community comes in with the cell phone video that existed, which she didn't even know existed.
Mm-hmm.
She had that deniability of like, Ryan's a good guy. Ryan wasn't there because Ryan would have stopped that.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, yeah.
And Fennel was kind of making the point in the commentary, like, none of these people are necessarily bad people, and none of them think of themselves as bad people. Like, even Al, who raped Nina, wakes up every day and he doesn't think of himself as a bad person, even though he is, and definitely Max Greenfield, but, I think the point she was going for is good people are capable of doing atrocities.
I agree with you. Okay, so this kind of goes to, I think what I didn't like is her using Ryan as the catalyst for what causes the final thing to happen. Like, she was, in a sense, sort of, not that she wasn't committed to Nina, but she was sort of walking away from it, and then this thing changed. And I understand in the context of what happened why she left him, why she walked away. But what bothers me is, I guess it's a personal thing, okay? And people can feel free to come at me. It's the story she wanted to tell, and there's nothing wrong with the story she wanted to tell. It's essentially a story about the bystander effect, which is people are good people, think they're good people. People are not necessarily bad people, but even people, when they're witnessing atrocities, good people will not always step in. And I understand that concept, but it's not. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
But it's something that bugs me, because she's using the vehicle she's using to tell that story is a vehicle that's simultaneously saying there's no such thing as a good man. I mean, that's one of the things that really bugged me about this movie is there is not one single redeemable guy in this movie, and the only one that's semi-good is a coward. And that's not reality. She's trying to tell a story about a real event, real things that happen to real women, and she completely left out a piece of reality.
Well, I mean, this movie is also fantasy, because you're also talking about a woman who, for the first half of the movie, is going out every night, pretending to get drunk, going home with these men, and then not killing them, but kind of putting them in their place in a way. And the fact that she's been able to do this for years and no one has, caught her or, I mean, not that she's doing anything illegal, but you would think word would get out. I mean, people will start talking about Batman pretty much immediately. So how is word not getting around that there's this crazy woman out there, or crazy women, if she is to be believed, that are going, and I'm using crazy and how they would describe her.
Because it's kind of like robbing a drug dealer. Like,
right.
They'd have to admit how they got into that situation in order to explain what happened.
Well,
That
speaking
is
of
true.
but speaking of the drug dealers, so, the guy who plays the attorney Simon, I think that was her attempt to kind of have somebody have a change of heart or I guess a reckoning. Because he says that, I've got to pay the piper, the reckoning has come. That was her attempt, I think, in her writing to say, okay, not every guy is bad. Some people do have bad tendencies, but then they realize when it's all done, and he realized, of course, way too late, after Nina commit suicide. That's when he pretty much, he stops working. He stops taking on cases, and he tells her the truth. I mean, if you think about it, in her end, who does she send the evidence to? Who does she trust?
I mean,
him, because
that's a fair point.
If she sent it to Ryan, that shit was going to go in the trash.
Exactly.
Yeah. And can we just pause for a minute and just talk about how good Alfred Molina is? Because I think between that scene, like, if I could just show two scenes to, people who, getting into film or getting into acting, to show just how great Alfred Molina is, it's this scene and then the scene where they're robbing him in Boogie Nights.
And you can't forget Dr. What was his name in Spider-Man?
Dr. Octopus. I mean, yes, he was very good in that, but I'm still going to hold this scene and basically the Wonderland murder scene in Boogie Nights up as this is why you hire Alfred Molina to be in your movie, because this is what he is capable of.
Yeah.
Or we show him the first 5 minutes of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I mean, he was a really good he was a really good example of kind of a redeemable character, of somebody who had a change of heart, and I liked her response to it. And I will give the director credit. This is an issue I have with the story she chose to tell, but I'm not. You're right. It's a fantasy. I'm not ignorant to the fact that the story she was trying to tell was a specific thing that isn't necessarily fully based in reality, because that's not. Now, could I blame a woman for doing what she was doing? No, not necessarily. And the other thing being is she doesn't paint Cassie as a good person. She doesn't paint her as a hero, or in some, like, she's this essentially the protagonist of the film is an anti-hero, kind of.
Not kind of, absolutely. This is a textbook definition of anti-hero, because while they are the protagonists of the film and they're seeking justice, they're not technically doing it the right way, even though she did try the right way and the right way failed her.
So speaking of Cassie, can we talk about Carey Mulligan?
Yes.
I am not a huge. Okay, let's just be honest here, and John knows this. I'm not a artsy film person. I'm not one of those that, oh, this is a great art film, and I'm one of those that I walked in there and sat down and went, oh God, this is one of those art films. But I sat through it realizing how it ended up being, a good show to me. But Carey Mulligan, she's not been one of my favorite actresses. And when I heard she was in this, all I could think about was her role from Great Gatsby as Daisy, and I thought, oh, good grief.
Okay, so in addition to Ryan Murphy, Drink, and all the other people on my villains list, I'm adding Baz Luhrmann because, I know we're all worried about saying the wrong thing and getting quote unquote canceled on the show, but I'm just going to say I hate Baz Luhrmann. I don't like everything he's made after Romeo and Juliet. I have not liked. Yes, I don't like Moulin Rouge.
Because there's something wrong with you.
Come at me, internet. No, I don't want to hear Ewan McGregor sing for 2 hours. But I've tried. I've given that movie its due. But
Oh my God,
I don't like
Sandy! Any
I
chance you
know.
want to take over a podcast? Who does not want to listen to Ewan McGregor
have fun
sing
learning
for
how to
2
edit.
hours?
Who doesn't want to just see him singing? I mean, sometimes I just mute
Right?
just to watch him move.
Seriously.
It's okay.
You people are nuts. Anyway, but my point is, no one in Gatsby was good, including Leo. He deserves. I mean, he was all right. Leo was good, but he deserved to be Gatsby in a better film made by a better director.
Are you hearing silence?
Yeah.
Yes.
Silence gets edited out.
Gatsby, I enjoyed Gatsby. I did. I enjoyed it on the same level that I enjoyed Moulin Rouge. I'm sorry. It's one of those flashy movies that look great. And Leo looked amazing. And Leo, if you're listening to this podcast, you can get in contact with me. Okay? But,
Yeah.
As long as he's recovered from being mauled by the bear. But you're kind of hitting my point. It's a great movie to look at. All of his movies are great to look at. It's just they have no substance to me. It's McDonald's, it's Dairy Queen. It's not, a nice pork chop at a nice restaurant. So, and there's nothing wrong with those movies because I have many a horror film, many a sleepaway camp sequel that I can paint with that same brush. Also, drink.
It's okay. It's okay, John. It's okay. I understand that you said Wes Anderson incorrectly. That is the difference to me. I'm total agreement with you, Sandy.
Look.
I am not a fan of artsy for the sake of being artsy, and I think Baz Luhrmann lies in that middle ground. I think that at least Moulin Rouge is a coherent story that's good. It makes sense. It's very well stylized. Quit talking, John. It is a masterpiece of a film. This movie does not go... Okay, there's moments in this movie where it's a little over-stylized for my particular taste, but for the most part, the stylization actually kind of elevates the movie, whereas Wes Anderson...
If you say Wes Anderson's name one more time...
I'm sorry.
If you say his name one more time, Royal Tenenbaums is becoming a manly movie of the month.
No.
I'm putting him on... I don't have a villains list. Oh, I do. It's Marion Cotillard. She's on it. So he's joining her on my villains list.
Look, I have no skin in the game on the Wes Anderson thing, but the run from Bottle Rocket to Royal Tenenbaums, I will defend those movies. Everything else after that, I will give you, it can be artsy for the sake of artsy. And I have not seen also most of those films because I saw the one on the boat in the theaters and I was so angry, I kind of stopped, didn't see anything of his until, I can't remember if Moonrise Kingdom or the one about the hotel came next. Hey folks, John here interrupting the show to talk to you about Anchor. What is Anchor? Well, Anchor is the way Sammy and I make this podcast. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. And the best part about it, it's free. That's right, you don't have to pay a thing to create a podcast with Anchor. There are creation tools that help you record and edit your podcast right on your phone or computer. Anchor will help even distribute your podcast to all the major platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and more. And the best part is you can even make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in just one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. But,
Well, all I can say is that, to me, this movie made Carey Mulligan... There are other movies that I want to see her in now. Because, like I said, I wasn't I wasn't on her bandwagon, but she was pretty good. I mean, I think she should have won the SAG award last night, but that's just my opinion. But I thought she did a good job portraying a psychotic person without being psychotic. I mean, it was a fine line for her. I mean, it really was. And I saw her a few interviews that she did, and she said that this was a character that she really had to dig deep to do. But the hardest thing for her, it wasn't so much the character she had trouble with, it was keeping her American accent. That is something she said was very hard.
on the rewatch last night, I was like, ooh, it's slipping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard it a couple times last night.
Yeah, I'm not real familiar with her entire output. I can say that she was great in a film called An Education, which was written by, on my heroes list, Nick Hornby. Sammy, he wrote High Fidelity.
Nice.
And Alfred Molina is also in that movie. So this was kind of a reunion for them. So it's a nice, fun little,
Mm-hmm.
It is kind of dry. It's very British. But, I mean, Nick Hornby wrote it, so it's got a little wet to it. And it's not based on one of his books. I think he just wrote this one as a movie. It might be based on a book. I don't know. Can't remember.
I tend to agree with you, Sandy. The place I think it's most apparent that she was kind of a brilliant cast for this is I really liked, for as much as this movie does wrong, there's a lot of things I did like about it. I liked that they chose not to show the rape. It always kind of goes back to me with the whole Blair Witch Project effect, where sometimes what you're not seeing is way more powerful when you know what's happening, but you're not actually seeing it. And just the close-up of her face, just watching her reaction to what was happening was way more effective. That I don't think that would have worked as well with a less capable actress.
Yeah.
I mean, she maintained this each person that she went and sought revenge on. If you look at her face, each facial expression was different. I mean, with the dean, I mean, she had this resting bitch face, like, okay. But with the attorney, when she was with Simon, she had this look of pity in her eyes. I mean, you can even see it when she goes outside and she tells the guy, he says, do you want me to go in? And she says, no. I mean, she had this look of pity. She actually felt sorry for him. So.
Yeah. Can we talk about the scene with the dean for a minute? I think that's the part where I'm like, an authority figure should have gotten involved at this point because she did technically kidnap a child. I mean, she just dropped her off at a diner and is using her as leverage, but...
But if you think about it, do you know why the dean probably didn't call the authorities? I mean, think about it. That would have... What do you think that Cassie's character would have said? Well, because this is why I did it. And then you bring the college and the university back into the spotlight.
Yeah, but at the same time, and I hate that this is a position I'm having to take, but the university kind of has leverage because they did quote unquote investigate it and quote unquote find nothing. So it is a case of she said, she said.
Yeah, it might have actually been more her being afraid of Cassie that stopped her from doing anything. All the men, I kind of get why they didn't do it because you sort of have to admit you're a scumbag. And also, not only are you a scumbag, you're a coward who's afraid of a woman. In the context of the movie, I would have been terrified of her too. What I actually think is kind of unrealistic about the whole thing is that she made out until what happened with Al, she made it out of this interaction, which how many guys has she done this with? Her notebook suggests it's a lot, without getting seriously injured.
Well, that was by design because Emerald Fennell did go into this script with the intention of Cassie was not making out of this movie alive. It wasn't until later in the writing process that she added the revenge at the end of the movie, basically.
Well, but not only that, but when she's in these bars and she's selecting these, do you want to call them victims? I mean, they are
No.
It's
victims
hard
of
to say what they
revenge.
are. Yeah.
They're
Targets.
gentlemen. Well,
Targets
yeah,
is a better one.
but she's targeting those that she knows are trying to be decent, but she knows deep inside they're not. Because if you think about it, when you get to Al Monroe's character, it wasn't that he's the one that committed the crime, but it was his friend who kept telling him, "You did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it." Which is the same thing that he did for Cassie. You did nothing wrong. Don't worry about it. So, in my thing is that she was trying to pick people like Al out of the bar who were this guy that he's supposedly nice and he cares about me, but ultimately he's gonna mess up. I mean, I'm sorry, there were some of them. I just thought, man, I would be afraid of her. I would have said, you know what, whatever you want. You want my money? Here you go. You want my phone? Take my phone. Here's the keys to my car.
I think you hit on it kind of because she didn't, because that was kind of crossing my mind. Like if she targeted and ended up with somebody, I don't even want to use the word more dangerous. It's hard to describe because what they were doing was equally dangerous, but I guess less cowardly. It could have been a lot more dangerous for her.
But she was very sensitive. I mean, if you think about the targets that she thought
Well,
she wanted somebody to work on.
Or,
well, technically, she didn't necessarily seek those people out. They came to her.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she was setting a trap, but at the same time, that guy had to walk into that situation, and he could and he chose, instead of handling the situation the right way, every single one of them chose. Well, we don't know about the last guy that she was caught with when Ryan caught her, McLovin, and I wish I could remember his name from the OC right now, but Adam Brody. They chose to bring her back to their respective apartments. One handled it slightly better than the other, but they were both awful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, because with McLovin, she said at least he didn't try to put his fingers into her while she was passed out, but he still was going on and rambling about his great novel that he was writing while doing blow. So he didn't cross the line into scumbag territory completely, but he did he was insufferable from the moment we meet him.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think in general, and this was probably just a product of what the director was trying to do with her character, she came across guys that there was an opportunity for what she was doing to actually make an impact. Because Al, for example, what she did would not necessarily have worked on Al.
Yeah.
Like he was a rapist. He was going to continue to be that person essentially, which is, kind of evident by the fact that he escalated to murder, which yes, was out of fear. And
which is another one of the criticisms I was seeing, because he could technically argue that it was self-defense since she did have a scalpel with her. She never really carved anything on him, but she was trying. So he can argue self-defense in that, which that does kind of undercut things a little bit, but
he was going to, until his best friend comes upstairs and says, "You did nothing wrong. We're going to fix this. I'm going to fix this," which is probably what he did with Nina.
That's exactly what he did.
It just makes the whole thing feel kind of pointless. I mean, I like that in the sense of what she's saying is absolutely correct there. I think a lot of what happens when you're talking about these college situations is these guys do get affirmation from their guy friends.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a healthy environment. But I have a question for you two. I'm curious what you think. Was this a suicide mission? Do you think, we know what the director's intent was, do you think Cassie went in there not thinking she might die, but intending to die?
I don't think she walked in intending to die, but I think she knew that there was a chance. Otherwise, she wouldn't have sent all the evidence to the lawyer where she was. She left one part of that necklace behind, so that way, whenever they did what they did with her remains, it was still there. So I think she knew in the back of her mind that she might not walk out of the situation, but it could have gone either way.
See, I kind of think that this was a suicide mission for her. I think that not really necessarily a suicide mission, but I think she went in there with the intent that I'm going to get revenge and I'm probably going to die. This is how it's going to be, and that's fine. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that I think everything just escalated. You know, her parents wanted her to move out of the house, which getting a gift like a suitcase, I need to do that with my child. I think I'll give him a suitcase. But I mean, you know, she gets this gift from her parents, like ultimately saying, get out. And, you know, and then she's got her coworker, her boss telling her, get a life. And then she's got Nina's mom, get a life. And then she's got Ryan, who she feels like was the biggest betrayal of the whole situation.
Yeah.
And so I think she went in there going, she lived for Nina. And I think that she went in there going, it's going to take me dying to make him pay for what he did. Because in her mind, if she'd have gone in there and he'd have done something, even if she would have just scared him half to death, I don't think that was enough for her. I think she wanted him to pay. He was her main target. He was the one that she had to make pay. And that, to me, is what she did.
I tend to agree. And a part of the reason being why it occurred to me when she was in there, she has video. She has literal proof of what he did, which is something that almost nobody in this situation ever gets. She has video evidence, and she ends up sending it to the cops. She could have just sent it to the cops in the first place. That's all she had to do to destroy his life. She didn't even have to send it to the cops. She could have done to him what she threatened to do to Ryan, and eviscerated him in the court of public opinion, and gotten him in trouble with law enforcement. Well, the reasons for not doing that are maybe twofold. One, it's personal, so she wants her moment with him, which she won't get if she sends it in to the cops. Or two, the statute of limitations is expired. So the only other thing to get him on is murder.
Well, and I also think that she also had in her head, you remember when she goes and talks to the dean, it's a he said, she said. And, you know, how are you going to prove something? Yes, she had the video, but how is she going to prove that Al came after her or attacked her if she did get away? Because it's a he said, well, you know, she was a stripper and she came over and she drugged us and then she went upstairs. Well, she was right back in that he said, she said situation. And the only way to fix that was to die. I mean, she wanted Al to pay. It wasn't just, you know, a hand slap. She wanted to make sure that his life was completely destroyed the way that she felt Nina's was.
Yeah.
I mean,
which is what's really tragic is what happened is her life ended up getting destroyed.
Well,
no, her life was already kind of destroyed.
Yeah, but I'm guessing Nina was also probably the smartest one in the group out of the whole class, because remember, she makes that point of telling Al as she has him handcuffed to the bed, you know, and then you graduated, what was it?
Magna cum
whatever. Yeah, and because Nina was gone. So because if you remember, she and Nina were extremely intelligent, according to everybody, according to Ryan.
Ryan, I hear you're a doctor. Your parents must be very, very proud.
Not really. They wanted me to be a DJ.
So, did we ever really talk about Bo Burnham? Trying to bring this back to, you know, a little bit of not so much heavy.
No, I mean, I think we only kind of barely touched on his character.
All right. Well, I want to touch on him as an actor, which I know you're more of a fan of his stand-up than I am. And I think I avoided a lot because a lot of the same people that like him liked Dane Cook back in the day, so I'm cautious. But I've only seen Bo in 2 films, and I need to see the film he actually directed, which I hear is great. It's called 8th Grade. But he's turning out to be a really great actor because he's very naturally funny. But in this film, he really had a charisma about him that made him instantly likable. Like, the only other thing I'd seen him in besides an episode of Parks and Rec was Sandy when we went to see The Big Sick, and he was one of the comics just down in the green room talking shit, which is still my favorite part of that movie. It's just because I've seen that in real life, and I just love that. But he was a great casting choice.
He was good. I mean, yeah, he really was.
And I don't think he's really getting the due he kind of deserves from this film. And I know it's kind of a year that doesn't necessarily have a lot of movies in contention, but he does have some kind of stiff competition out there. But I thought he was fantastic in this.
I agree. I think he was an excellent choice, and I am a fan of his. I don't know actually that much of his stuff. It's been a while since I've listened, and I was shocked to see him in this movie. But I do think he did a really good job, and he kind of just has a natural presence on screen, and he moved effortlessly from his sort of comedic role to dramatic, and I think it worked for his character.
Yeah, I think
My
I realized
favorite
why.
scene was Well, I was gonna say my favorite scene is the coffee scene where he says, if you want to, you can spit in my coffee."
Oh,
okay,
God.
and according to the commentary, she really did spit in the coffee, and he really did drink it. And there were
I
so
had
many,
a feeling.
And they did so many takes. Fennel said she kind of felt bad for him because he ended up drinking, and I'm quoting her, about a gallon of Carey Mulligan spit.
Oh,
Ew.
gross.
But part of that is his own fault too, because he would keep cracking everyone up during takes, so they would have to redo things over and over.
Okay, but not to take it back to the heavy, but this is kind of the lighter side of the heavy. I do want to take a second to talk about Max Greenfield. Okay, and how much I loved his character in this movie. So I've always been a fan of the character he played as Schmidt, and I don't think this was necessarily a whole lot different, but I will grant her this. They took the scene between her and Al made me the angriest in the film for just how tragic it was, and everything that happened. And then the next scene is one of my favorites because it has some of my favorite lines in the entire movie. Just when he goes, "Is she dead?" After he says it, and he goes, "Why is the stripper dead?" He kind of has this, I don't know. He just has this natural thing about him where you cannot take him too seriously or anything he's saying, and it's great.
Just the way he runs away at the wedding.
Yeah, Greenfield does Scummy so well.
So well.
And I'm not that familiar with New Girl. I mean, I've seen episodes, so I know who Schmidt is. I've seen it. I don't know his entire arc. I didn't see Mindy Project, but he was kind of a douchebag in The Newsroom, and he was very much a douchebag here. So I've only seen him at his douche best, I guess.
And I think it's just something about the characters that he plays, and he was simultaneously funny, and then they move to the next scene where they're burning her body.
Yeah.
And it is very clear that seems to not be the first time he's ever done that.
Yeah, that didn't cross my mind.
Al is there about to throw up, and he's just like, "It's fine, it's fine,
Yeah.
We're good."
But
it starts cracking. He's like, "It's all good. Keep going."
Aren't they all medical students? Aren't they used? Maybe he went into the funeral sciences, so he sees bodies burning every day.
All I know is my favorite scene is just the wedding, and you see him run away like his tail's touching between his legs, and it's like, "Oh, dude, I'm out."
Set to Angel of the Morning, which after that movie opened Deadpool, I didn't think that song would ever be used in a movie again. And then this movie was like, nope, we're going to have the definitive use.
I think you and I were hitting each other when that song came out. I was like, oh my God.
So another question. Mm-hmm. What kind of doctor do you think Al is?
I'm going to go with plastic surgeon. I mean, he's dating a model,
Oh, that is true. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I could see him totally going into that field.
Yeah.
I kind of agree.
That would make sense. I was going to say general practitioner, but then, no. It has to be plastic surgeon. She married up. Come on.
So, Sammy, you want to start asking the questions?
Alrighty. Okay, we'll start with Sandy because she's our guest.
Well,
Well,
first,
go ahead.
I actually got to ask you a question because I didn't see any, or hear any. Were there any "you can't handle the truth" moments in this movie? This movie may be too new for you to even have that.
I don't really.
I don't think it has either of our that "you can't handle the truth" or "stuff your sorries in your pocket" or comments. Whatever that line. Like, I didn't think there's any like real bad clunky dialogue here, but also there's nothing in this movie that I see that's going to end up on a T-shirt.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't know. I could see "Is the hooker dead" on a T-shirt.
Right.
Did you kill the hooker? It's so 90s.
I think they tried to do it with the whole "we were just kids" thing, but that didn't really work.
No, that just seems like, just regular dialogue, not trying to stand out.
Yeah, nothing comes to mind.
Okay, I didn't think so, but if you had seen anything, I would like, all right, let you run with it.
Okay, so starting with Sandy, we always have 3 questions we ask at the end of every episode. So, what did you like about this film?
That we haven't already covered.
Yeah.
And we haven't already covered? Didn't we cover everything? What did I like?
No, because I've got 2.
What I liked about this film is that it's one of those films to me that I think, I know that it's going to be one of those films that is going to stand out somewhere in the future. I think it's going to be a cult classic. I really do. Because it addresses a situation that is happening, that has happened, is happening, and will probably always continue to happen in society. So that was something. I mean, she didn't pick something that's just I guess not really a fad, but like, and I hate to bring this up, but some of these TV shows are really into the COVID situation right now. Well, that is going to be, it's documented, but I think this film will stand its time. Is it going to be a cult classic like, unfortunately, Sleepaway Camp or anything like that? Or The Room? I don't think so. But I do think it's going to be, for me, it's going to be one of those ones that I'm going to watch again. It's one of my favorites, though.
All right, John, what did you like about it?
All right, I got 2 things I want to cover. And it's covering actresses that were in the film that we really didn't talk about. And we could have probably done like, a good 5 minutes on everyone in the cast. First one is Alison Brie. I'm a huge fan of Community whenever it was good. And so I've always kind of liked her. She, Annie was one of my favorite characters in the show. And I kind of like Alison Brie because of that. And I thought she did a really good job of just playing I wouldn't say absolute bitch, but someone that was kind of detestable a little bit. And just that whole interaction that she had when she was giving Cassie the phone, and where she went from apologetic to absolutely angry and just like, after this, never fucking contact me again.
Yeah.
The other one I want to talk about is Laverne Cox, who, my only knowledge of her acting is the season and a half I made it through Orange is the New Black. I know a lot of people love that show. I just stopped caring after a while.
And she's a badass.
Oh yeah. And also I saw her as one of the 2 or 3 good things in that god-awful Rocky Horror thing that they did on Fox one Halloween. She was great as Frankenfurter. But here's the thing. I loved seeing her pop up, because all right, I'm going to get on my activist soapbox just a tiny little bit. Maybe just 1 foot. I love that this movie cast a trans actress in a role where it didn't matter if her character was trans or not. She was just a woman, and I like that there was visibility for a trans actress getting a part that could have gone to anyone, but Fennel chose Laverne Cox because she is awesome. She's hilarious. And it wasn't, and at no point did it feel like, hey, look at us. We're casting an LGBT person in this role. Look at us. Look at us. It was just, that was the right person for the job. And I love that. Yeah. I probably could have worded that slightly better, but I feel like you got my point, right?
Yeah, Laverne was great in this.
Yeah. Also, I just now remembered Adams Brody's character in the OC and with Seth Cohen.
Right. Yes.
All right, Sammy, what did you like about this movie that we hadn't talked about?
Okay, so I liked the premise in general, and obviously, I think it was really well acted. I think it was pretty perfectly cast. I wouldn't have changed anything there. I think that she did a really good job. I think the stylization of the movie actually worked for the most part, which says something coming from me. And I am a sucker for an anti-hero story generally.
And yet you don't like the films of the 70s. It's all anti-heroes and cocaine.
What?
Which one are you yelling at? Because
I'm talking about she doesn't like the movies of the 70s?
She thinks the 80s are superior. And now I hear the conflict.
It's just a personal opinion, guys. I'm allowed to have one.
You just sit there in your wrongness and be wrong. And when you have finished the West Wing, you'll get that line.
Okay, Sandy, I know you're going to have to dig deep, but what didn't you like about this film?
What didn't I like? Oh, that it ended.
And that is an acceptable answer.
Yeah.
I mean, for some reason, they kept fixating on her fingernail polish. And I was like, why are we fixating on her fingernail polish?
Because it looks cool.
Was I the only one that noticed that? I mean, of course, at the end, I was like, wait, her fingernail polish matches her hair. But I just kept wondering, why do we care about her fingernails? That bothered me, but I'm one of those people that I don't like. It's just, yeah. I thought that was dumb. I don't know why she kept fixating on her fingernail polish.
All right. John, what didn't you like about this film?
This may be giving away my answer for the next question, but I'm sitting here trying to think, and I can't think of a single thing that I dislike about this film.
Okay, so in legal speak, they have both stood up and they have ceded their time to me. Okay,
Yes.
So
Keep this brief.
I wrote down 3 things, but really it comes down to one. There was times I thought the movie was paced a little bit slow, but for the most part, I thought the pacing was pretty good. I
on the rewatch, this movie zips by. It's just like, wow, we're already done.
It wasn't fast. It was a fast 2 hours. I figured it out while we were having this conversation, exactly what it is that bothers me about this movie, and I put my finger on it. It's cynical. It is absolutely the most pessimistic story, and that's what bothers me. It doesn't have any redeeming quality, and it comes down to it's predictable. Every single one of the men she encounters, including Ryan, does what she expects him to do. There's not one person in this movie that subverts expectation. I mean, I suppose you could argue Alfred Molina does a little bit.
How'd you know what I was about to say?
It's kind of a weak representation of that. I mean, it's nice and it's poignant, but it's kind of like the director going, okay, here, you can have a little tiny something to appease you, but it's a pretty damn cynical movie. It's
so basically
everybody does what's expected of them to the point where it ends in complete tragedy, and everybody's life is just ruined.
So it's not a Hallmark movie.
No, I mean, it's not. It's not.
To be fair, Hallmark ends the way you expect it to as well.
Right, and right. That's a fair point. I guess just that concept bums me out. I'm normally, I don't mind stories about anti-heroes, but normally there's some kind of there's a purpose to it. Like it comes to a resolution that is at the very least cathartic. Like you take this journey and you understand why the anti-hero is on the path that they're on, and you agree with what they're. Have either of y'all seen Me Before You?
No.
No.
This movie pissed me off about as much as that movie did too. It's very similar. That is not necessarily indicative of my answer to the next question or how I feel as a whole about this movie, but that is my major problem with the movie. It's cynical. It's just a very pessimistic view of life.
John, does that tell you how you and I are? We're cynical.
Yep. I didn't need to be told that. I already knew. Cynical is my middle name.
I shall step down from my soapbox.
Okay. You worded yours better, at least on my defense of casting a trans actress in a role and not. Yeah.
We understood what you meant.
Sammy, that's why we keep you around. You're our optimist. You're the one that keeps John and I in line.
Someone has to do it.
I mean, it's just that the dichotomy is the it's not even the right word. The contrast is good. It's like when you're watching a television show where pretty much everybody's a bad person. A lot of times I like those shows, but they usually throw in at least one character that is a good person. And it's a nice, refreshing contrast. It's a sort of battle. There's a reason people like stories about good and evil, right? It's because it's reality. And it kind of throws it's you're not eating all of one piece of food for your meal. You're mixing it up a little bit. As I mix my metaphors. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah. All right. Well, well, let's not mix metaphors anymore. Sandy, Sammy, John, did you survive Promising Young Woman? Sandy?
I survived. And I'll survive it again when I watch it again, probably this weekend. It is one of my favorites.
Oh. Good.
I struggled with this because is it a movie I would watch again? Actually, yeah, because from an entertainment standpoint, it's not bad. So with our loose criteria, and by loose I mean 0 criteria for whether or not we survive a movie.
You mean the shit we made up?
Yeah, pretty much. And compared to the movies I have not survived, I think I have to say I survived this movie just by the pure fact that it is watchable. So
is it my
John.
turn? All right. So I had to scroll back through my text messages because I had recently sent a friend of mine who doesn't listen to the show as far as I know. I had made my list of my top films of 2020. So I knew I had the picture. I just had to get to it. And this landed out of my top 15 at the number 7 position. So yeah, I pretty strongly survived this movie. I love how darkly comic this movie is in dealing with like heavy subject matter. I think this we didn't really talk about how witty a lot of the dialogue is, especially in the love story between Ryan and Cassie, particularly the line "You miserable asshole." I love it. Like I love this movie a lot. I mean, I went out and actually paid money and bought a physical copy of the movie so I can watch it again. So yeah, definitely like this film.
Yeah, I mean, the pharmacy scene makes it for me.
Yeah,
it was great.
Well,
great is a strong word. Unlike the two of you, while this movie is eminently watchable, it does not end up in my top 100.
Oh, it does for me. Wait, back to one subject. Where you said, was there anything I didn't like? Okay, so I have a confession to make. I have this foot thing. I don't like people to touch my feet. I only get pedicures from people that I go to all the time.
So you and Tarantino wouldn't get along.
Nobody else is allowed to touch my feet. They were disgusting. So when she walks up to the cabin in those pantyhose without her shoes on, that's a cringe-worthy scene for me. Like,
But I know for a fact that you have walked in one of the streets in your bare feet as well.
Well,
So
that's only when cars tend to disappear.
yep.
But it does. That to me, when she's walking up in that muddy road, and then she puts those dirty feet into those shoes, I'm like, wow.
Well, solid answer.
Yeah. All right, Sammy, do you
fun,
have any?
guys.
Yeah, it was. Well, we got one. I got one more question for Sammy, though.
Okay.
Do you have anything you want to plug this week?
I guess I'll throw this out there. So a Netflix show, Ginny and Georgia. I did not think I was actually going to like it based on some stuff I had heard. And I actually, which it kind of only came from one person, completely disagree with them. And it's a really good series. So.
What is it about? Like 2 cents elevator pitch.
Yeah, it's about a single mom, and she has 2 kids, each from a different father, and she moves them. She's recently widowed from both the kids' stepfather, and stands to inherit a good deal of money from him, but his ex-wife is fighting it. And in the meantime, she moves her kids up to Massachusetts after his death, and her daughter, who she had when she was 15. It's just kind of about their relationship and them navigating everything that's going on. And her daughter's also biracial, so it covers a lot of very serious topics like self-harm, race, and I think it handles them really well, to be honest.
Cool.
So anyway.
All right, and I want to plug a movie that I'm going to have to work really hard to convince you to do on this show, but I think it does fit at least 2 of our criteria. But I want to talk about a horror movie I watched over the weekend called Slacks, Slaxx. It is a Shudder original, and it is the best film I've ever seen about a homicidal pair of sentient genes. But it is about possessed pants. I'm not making this up. This is a real movie. And I know this sounds like the absolute dumbest premise ever, but if it wasn't for several horror bloggers I follow talking about how good it is, and it's very darkly comic like this. There's some great kills, and it's actually kind of not as cynical as this movie, but it does take to task like companies that pretend to be all fair trade and organic and blah blah blah, and that's part of the reason why the pants are possessed. It's not as dumb as it sounds. It's actually pretty clever and pretty fun. So if you have Shudder, I definitely recommend checking it out. Plus, it's not even 80 minutes long. It's like 77 minutes. You have 77 minutes in your day. Of course you do. Check this one out.
Okay,
So
John.
Are you saying that we're going to be coming over for 77 minutes and I need to clean up the house? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, basically.
Okay.
John, I will make you a deal with Sandy and our listener as my witnesses. Okay. I will watch it. We can do it for the podcast. But if we do that, we are doing the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants trilogy.
Oh, don't put him through the trilogy.
All right, double feature the Slacks and the first one, and we'll talk about the sequels.
No, I think she has a point, because when you said something about possessed pants, I was thinking they should really do Traveling Sisterhood. I mean,
we should.
I mean,
it's a very female empowering series.
Yeah, I mean, what woman doesn't want to wear a great pair of jeans?
Well, and the possessed jeans, the whole thing about them is the company was selling them on is they conform to your body type, like one pair, but it's for like models and shit. So if you're 5 pounds overweight or underweight, it's going to give you the perfect fit. And also they're gender inclusive. And also they tend to eat people because they're possessed.
Definitely. Okay, so do we have a deal?
We'll talk off air. Our schedule is kind of full, so I'm trying to crowbar.
Well, wait a minute now. If you can make time for 77 minutes, You can make time
But
for
our
the other movie.
podcast is never 77 minutes.
But you've already told Sammy that she needs to watch that movie because you
I told
want
our
to.
listener they needed to watch it.
But you also told Sammy because I was sitting right here and I heard you say, I'm really going to try to convince you to do this one because it meets 2 of the 3 criteria. I heard it.
So this is Sandy's last appearance on the podcast.
Thanks, Sandy. You are welcome anytime.
You two can go off and start your traveling pants podcast. You just can't call it Pants because 2 actresses from the L Word will sue you because they already have that show. All right. Well, even though I just banished you from the show, Sandy, thank you for coming on and being on my side of the argument for once.
You're welcome. Well, that's why I had to side with Sammy at the end because it's a 2-way street.
Yes, thank you.
Well, and Sammy, thank you for putting up with this film one more time. At least, and listeners, thank you for coming back for another week. If you like us, please go on iTunes or Apple Music or whatever the hell it's called these days and give us a 5-star rating. Makes us look good.
Go to YouTube and subscribe.
Yes, we're on YouTube. You're maintaining our YouTube page, our TikTok page, our Instagram page. The person handling Facebook and Twitter needs to be fired. I'm just putting that out there. We also have an email, survivingchickflicks@gmail.com. Shoot us an email if there's something you want us to cover, or you just want to tell us how great we're doing, or you want to tell Sammy how wrong she is about how great this movie is. If you want to do an essay on Sleepaway Camp and the masterpiece that it is, I'll open the email, but I won't read it. And until we didn't plug. What the hell are we doing next week?
Next week.
Oh, next week we have another episode with guests. Listeners, if you want to rewind in your minds back to October when we did Scream, we are bringing Karen and Mark and Mindy back for another week, and we're going to handle Scream 2 and we're going to try to cover the entire franchise this year, getting ready for January of 2022 when 5 Cream comes out. That's because that's what the hell I'm calling it. Well, Sandy, again, thank you for coming on. Sammy, thank you again. Listeners, thank y'all. And until next week, I don't have a joke to close us out.
TTFN.
There you go. All right. And stopping recording. Surviving Chick Flicks is created and hosted by John Baggett and Samantha McDaniel. Our audio engineer and editor is Cody McLean. For an ad-free version of the show, please visit patreon.com/survivingchickflicks, where $5 a month gets you an ad-free version of the show as well as our manly movie of the month. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and please give us a 5-star rating on iTunes. All opinions are that of the host, and no copyright infringements are intended. Surviving Chick Flicks is a Circle of Jug production, all rights reserved.
Hey.
Oh, you, hi.
1 coffee, hold the spit. She spat in my coffee last time.